Okay, welcome to group 2 elements. Okay, 我们学完了 periodic table. Usually, mainly we were talking about period 3. Okay, but now we'll be looking at group 2 of the elements, where we'll find the similarities of the trend in the property in group 2, including the metals from magnesium to beryllium and then to the other compounds. Let's have a look. So, 在 group 2 里面，其实我们最 famous 的 combination is always with oxygen. So when there's a burn in the air, then we focus on the oxygen. So for example, 我把那个 magnesium, it should. So basically the M itself 它不是 element, 它是 general element. 就是讲 you can put magnesium, you can put calcium, cerium, barium, 所有的东西放进去。所以先讲它是一个 solid 啦，然后你 burn 了的话 with the oxygen itself， 就是因为 burning 是需要 oxygen 的嘛，所以它就会变成 magnesium oxide. That's the key thing. So the way that we test this, as we mentioned about burning, not surprise, is through flame tests. 而它每一个情况都是有不同的颜色的 which is surprising over here. Let's have a look. We've got starting from white, red, and then we've got green. Okay, so calcium and cerium itself, they're both quite similar of the color. So please do note of that. But magnesium 是白色，然后 barium is green color. Also, please do note that barium is also forming to peroxide. So barium plus O2. So each of the oxygen 它们会 carry one negative charge. Okay, so we can see from here that 它两个 oxygen 的情况下，它是 two negative 的嘛 ，combined with barium itself 它会变成一个 negative charge. And this is the organic form of it. I mean, technically not organic, but yeah, that's the similar structure. We'll see about that in the future. Now, 这一个是一个非常 interesting 的一个 phenomenon, 也就是 magnesium with water. What you'll be realizing, 如果你 Google search 还是什么东西 ，magnesium 和 water interact 的时候，它是非常非常 steamy 的。Okay, so it will produce hydrogen. Okay, so we as the same thing, 因为有 oxygen 的情况，所以我们是有这一个magnesium oxide 的。But what about the H itself? 它会变成一个 hydrogen gas. So 它 only reacts slowly, so it will form like bubbles and stuff. But 如果是 hydroxide 如果它是 reacting with the water very slowly, 它会 form into hydroxide itself. So if it's reacting readily, 它是 magnesium oxide. Slowly 的话是 hydrogen oxide. Okay, so it does depend on the situation. But what about the other elements? 我们会看到的是 the rest of the group that also interacts with the water and it's increasing of the reactivity. 所以 magnesium 它其实是最慢的。But if we look down into the course or the period, oh no, sorry, not period. Look down into the group, 它的 reactive 更加多。只是因为它both of them, they are all like reactive. So no matter what, there's always forming into hydroxide or hydrogen gas. It's just that magnesium 它是有 dependent. 如果是 readily, 它是 with magnesium oxide. 可是如果是慢的话，它是 magnesium hydroxide. Now with the last combination, 是我们的 dilute acid. So with the dilute acid itself, 我们会看到的是 corresponding with salt. Okay, 所以我们就把 hydrochloric acid with magnesium, 它们会变成 magnesium chloride. 然后这里是 H, calcium 它 mix with 那个 nitroxide, 它就会变成 calcium nitroxide plus H2, hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid. Okay, so the reaction with sulfuric acid, 它从 calcium to beryllium 那边会开始 increasing, slowly increasing. That it's not increasing suddenly, it's slowly increasing. So this is because 我们的 sulfate salt 本身 ，okay, 它是 coat with metal 的 and it stops the reaction after. Okay, so I guess like we will try and see if we can find any virtual experiment that will help you to understand. So right now we'll be looking at some compounds. Let's have a look. So 如果它是 oxides with water， 它们两个就会变成 hydroxide, and it's formed with the general formula which we did see before. Okay, just a quick recall. Now, what about with dilute acid? Dilute acid is always forming H2O at the back. Okay, just remember that. Just basically it's the same thing that we talked about previously, but just kind of like take it as a recall. But what about hydroxide with water and dilute acid? 也就是讲它们两个 mix 在一起，所以 there's no reaction between group 2 hydroxide and water. Okay, group 2 hydroxides and acids reacts in the neutralization. But with the carbonate and water dilute acid, there's no reaction with the carbonate and water because they are both insoluble together. 可是 with group 2 carbonate, 它的 acid, okay, you usually neutralize, 所以就变成 water 了 okay, forming into carbon dioxide. 所以就是很像讲我们看这里 carbonate 还有我们的 hydrochloric acid, 它们会 form into carbon dioxide plus water, just because it's like a base and there's acid. Okay, sulfuric acid only reacts successfully with magnesium, once again due to the insoluble nature to the sulfate, which becomes more soluble as we descend the group. So it's actually talking about 它们的 solubility. So these are the things that you have to keep in mind. Okay. What about the thermal stability? 在 group 2里边呢，我们的 nitrate 还有 carbonate 它是比较 thermal stable 的啦，就是 down 的时候我会更加 stable down the group 的时候。So nitrates 我们会 form into, this is the general form. Okay. So we've got magnesium, we've got calcium, we've got Sr, we've got beryllium. These are how we can form it. So it's always in this format, no matter what. OK， 所以这一个会帮助你去就是想到就是更加的讲呢，就是你的 balancing equation 之类的，你看到这个时候，你看到 nitrate 而且是 group 2的情况 ，automatically just becomes this one. So with carbonates, 它也是这个情况 ，so just be careful. It's just carbon dioxide. So for the discussion board, I want you to write the net ionic equation for the following reaction. Okay, plus please remember, 因为 please do not include 我们的 spectator ion, 因为如果是 ion unchanged 的话 in charge, there's a different state. Okay, so for example, there'll be S2KQ. This then, 如果它是 change of state, then it should be an ionic equation. It should be included in an ionic equation. 如果它没有 change of state, okay, 所以如果是 change of state 这个样子，你才 include. Okay, but if it's not, please do not add spectator ions. So here we have a go at this PVQ questions, and feel free to ask any question. So 我们现在会讲关于到 trends in group 2， 其实我们多多少少也有讲到一点点 ，OK, because of the property to insolubility, but let's have a look more by individual. So 我们的 trends in group 2呢 is actually 我们要讲的是很像讲 atomic radius, OK, 他们的 ionic radius 这之类的东西。So atomic radius will increase, 因为我们的 outer electron is getting further and further, we are gaining more of the shells. Hence, 我们的 first and ionization, it's always decreasing down the group. OK, 因为我们越来越远离我们的 nucleus 越来越远，所以我们 outer electron will be ionized quickly. And the reactivity increases down the group, which we see it from the flame tests. So here's some examples. 这一个是我们的 beryllium with more than 99% pureness, 140 gram. So they have a higher melting point than group 1 due to stronger metallic bonding. Okay, 可是 generally it's lower than the transition metal, 也就是 periodic table 整个 group 里面的中间的部分。Okay, so however, because they are all metals, they all can conduct heat and electricity. Now with the melting point, 因为我们的 pattern, 我们的 partial pattern is always down, up, down, up, down 这个样子。Okay, so it's like what my way of remembering is up, down, up, down. Okay, 所以也就讲着我们 ignore 那个 magnesium 的情况，它其实是 downtrend。But 如果它是 include 的话，我会记得是 up, down, up, down. If you don't want to remember, it's down. So magnesium is an exception because of the crystalline structure. This is the only reason you have to remember. But in A level 的时候，我们其实是需要去 explain a bit 的。Okay. So kind of same in the boiling point. Okay, so there is not really a pattern. It's like up, 至少 melting point 我们可以看到 up down up down， 或者是 ignore 一个东西是 down. There is no trend in boiling point. Just remember that. So with the trend itself, 我们有讲过了，那就是 kind of like a summarization 啦。The trend of the chemical properties, 也就是讲是 in terms of carbonate 还有我们的 nitrates, in terms of the thermal stability, 它是 all stable, but it's always increasing down the group. The solubility of the sulfate decreases down the group, and also hydroxide increases down the group. I have no idea why 它是要放这个 DIID. 它这里也没有好好 explain the person who made the presentation, but yes, that's how you can remember. Okay, hydroxide up increases down the group, 或者是你要的话 decreases up the group, 然后 sulfates decreases down the group. For carbonate and nitrates, they are both stable. So here's a question for you. Strontium reacts with water to produce strontium hydroxide and the hydrogen. Write down the equation for this reaction and then state 2 observable that could be made in this reaction. And also state the transport solubility of group 2 hydroxide as the size of group 2 group 2 element increases. Now, with the prediction of the questions, predict in group 2 how does the trend react that you have learned that could be extended to radium and then beryllium is up to you. However, 在真正的 EAS 里面是很少问这个问题，因为 beryllium is not fitting the trend. So only with the outer shell that's so close to the nucleus that has a high relativity of the electronegativity. So most of the form are always covalent character. So beryllium is always like a exception. Now we'll be assuming that 我们已经知道了 radium 的那个 trend because from the previous prediction. What I want you to do is just copy and complete the following equation. Feel free to do so and ask me any questions if you're confused. That was a quick lecture and that was a quick end of unit for this part. Yes, 我们的 inorganic 和 organic 其实很快就是 skip through 了。So end of unit, we've got here are the papers and feel free to ask any questions. So as usual, these are the things.